This is Wichita's sports station, K230BY, 93.9 FM, 1410 AM, and 99.7 HD3. KGSO Belle Plaine, Wichita.
NFL media reported a short time ago that Dallas Cowboys defensive lineman Quinnen Williams has agreed to a 3-year, $106 million extension through the 2030 campaign. Green Bay Packers linebacker Micah Parsons told NFL media today that the most optimistic date for him to return to action would be Week 6 of the regular season. Ironically,
that kind of spin.
Culpepper in the air to left center field and deep. This one some carry to the track, to the wall, and it's gone! Kalen Culpepper, his first major league hit is a home run.
That kind of
preseason opener against the Chicago Bears on Saturday at Soldier Field. Veteran quarterback Teddy Bridgewater officially announced his retirement today on Instagram. He had been slated to be the Lions' backup to Jared Goff. I'm Isaac Lowenkron.
Broadcasting live from the KGSO studios in West Wichita.
I feel more informed when I listen.
This is The Press Box on Wichita's sports station, KGSO.
The Press Box on KGSO.
And we're off, back from the weekend here on the Press Box, 1410 93.9 KGSO, 4 to 6, Monday through Friday. We do this thing. We talk sports for a couple of hours. Jacob Zimmerman, Sasha Bushka, inside of the Renewal by Anderson studios. Give us a dial on the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone lines. That's 316-522-1410. Drop your comments here on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube. Watch back shows in their entirety if you missed them from the morning. We got KGSO.com, the SC Wichita app. Devin saying, good afternoon, you knuckleheads. Lights, camera, action. Yes, sir. Here's what the rundown looks like here for this afternoon. We'll talk about a story that came out this morning as it relates to Paul Mills rebounding there at Wichita State. Kind of an electric lead up to the season. You got to get physical. You got to get nasty. And this story's about the newcomers finding out. We'll talk about Kalen Culpepper. He had a home run there at his first Major League Baseball hit the other day for the Minnesota Twins. We're looking to have on Hannah Whetstone here, per usual, in about 20 minutes from Cake Sports. I want to talk about some ongoing quarterback battles today. We'll talk our Hall of Fame Monitor Series. We'll get to the D-line this afternoon. Jason Conander is out today. But we'll talk about some other stories going on. Bieniemy's back, returned to the Chiefs practice. There was the Hall of Fame official inductions on Saturday. And, well, Adam Vinatieri had a bunch of jokes. So, good show in store today. Sasha, what's going on, dude?
Not much, man. It was a good weekend. NFL's just around the corner. It's August 10th. We're less than a month away. First game's on September 9th. I'm fired up for the fall coming up.
All righty, and with that, I think we have 1 to 2 people here on the phone lines. Let's test them out, courtesy of Maximum Outdoor Equipment. How are you?
How are y'all?
What's up, Corey?
What's up?
Good morning. Good afternoon and every day. How are y'all doing today, Sasha?
I'm good, Corey. The other phone line was beeping in my ear, so I had to hang up on it from over here. But I'm glad to have you on, Corey.
Yeah, gentlemen, I've been sitting here watching the World Series stuff in different areas and everything, and I've been catching up with that. And some of the teams have got their ticket to go to the Little World Series in Pennsylvania this week.
Oh, yeah, Little League World Series. It's that time of year.
Yeah, and Coach Mills, JC, he's pretty good. He's straight to the point when it comes to basketball, and everything.
It's a good way of putting it.
He's not going to just sugarcoat it for you. He's going to tell you how it is, and he's going to tell you how this is how I run my team. And
absolutely. I gotta think like a response for me from maybe what people are saying out there in the public in recent years about Paul Mills. They were maybe comparing him to Greg Marshall and saying, hey, does Mills bring that intensity mid-game from the sideline that we're used to seeing? But I'll tell you what, I don't think it really matters what you see from the coach mid-game as long as he's calling out the right X's and O's. I think practice is where you get a better idea of that, and this is a developing story. Sasha, I remember you and I were kind of breaking down, just talking a little bit of Paul Mills. I think it was last week where I was saying, hey, what's the calling card for Paul Mills? And I said, first, he works really well with guards, but my second go-to was the rebounding. And we've got some key numbers here, a nice article put together on Wichita Eagle that we'll read through in here just a moment from Taylor Eldridge, but highlight some nice stats that really stick out, how great of a rebounding advantage we had a season ago. I got to think that's where Paul Mills really marks his path.
I think we're going to have I think we're going to have a good team this year.
I think so. Do. Projected to win the conference.
And and I just don't believe in preseason stuff, when it comes to anything. I don't care what conference stuff is. I don't believe in any of it until it shows up.
Well,
people have to make an educated guess, right?
Yeah.
You're not always going to get it exactly right in the preseason, but there's a lot of indicators that can tell people what's going to happen. And listen, there's a lot of shows like ours that are trying to fill time, so you got to talk about what you think people are going to be.
If you don't believe in preseason, you got to believe in last season. And look, we were one win, maybe 2 quarters realistically away from beating South Florida there in Birmingham and going to the NCAA tournament. So I think you kind of start a little bit higher up in the preseason standings mentally. I know preseason standings you were telling me aren't a real thing, but hey, I think Shocker Hoops, the vibes are strong right now heading into the 2027 season.
Preseason games don't matter. Preseason prognostication is fine. I'm great with that. Like discuss who's going to be good in the regular season, but don't give me these preseason games to make that determination.
Panthers 1-0, baby. Let's go.
That's great.
Yeah, it's just.
Does that count towards their over/under for wins this year in Vegas?
Yeah.
We're going to see. We're going to see. Hey, we won more games than you guys last year, so.
Yeah, I know.
Just be ready. Corey, anything else?
Yeah, I just don't believe in, like y'all say, I just don't believe in the preseason when it comes to Big 12 football either.
You're jumping off the hype train.
Until like y'all said, until it just shows it who's going to win the conference this year in football. I just don't really believe in it because, you never know who's going to come alive.
Yeah, that's fair. The Big 12 doesn't have a very good track record of predicting. Appreciate the call, Corey.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
can I give an unpopular opinion here?
Always.
I had to wait for Corey to get off the phone to give it because I don't want to give the guy any illness or injuries as a result of his disdain for this opinion, but I'm not that into the Little League World Series. Like I think it's a great experience for the kids who get to go play in it, but it's a very small subset of 12-year-olds who are like involved in the Little League system. There's lots of different baseball systems out there, and there's lots of different 12-year-old World Series that aren't on ESPN, and the players are just as good at all the other ones. And so, like, it's a great experience for those kids, and I'm sure they have a great time and they have fun, but I'm not that into the Little League World Series. They're not even taking leadoffs in that thing. Like, real 12-year-old baseball, you should be taking leadoffs and playing real baseball. Yeah.
Talk about an unexpected stray. 12-year-olds all across the country.
Yeah. No,
Sasha
not
Bushka coming at you.
Just the 12-year-olds in the Little League system, which is probably like 10% of them. Like all the other 12-year-olds, all the 90% playing baseball in leagues that aren't affiliated with the quote-unquote Little League affiliation, they're on my side right now.
They got the Japan team that comes in and always
internationally it's great, but U.S. based, like there's a lot of baseball that gets played that's not part of that Little League system.
Trust me, you can go a full year of really soaking up sports and never even watch or hear about the Little League World Series. These big shows nationally, they don't talk about it. You got to actually be watching live, have your streaming service, your live TV set up.
Any 12-year-old wants to come in here and fight me. I'm not going to hit back, but I will fight with my words. I'm not that into it.
There was one day, it was a couple weeks back at the barber shop, and there was this little, probably about 12-year-old kid, and he was going back and forth with that barber. I got a few words in, but, I think he was a big Chiefs fan, and he was talking a lot of smack, XYZ. Who knows? Maybe he plays a little League baseball. Andy Diedrich, Andy Stats, what's going on? Saying hello from Garden City, gents. Andy, hope you're not too bored out there. Call the show maybe if you've got some time today, especially in the second hour, 522-1410. You know the number. All right, we'll kind of get back to the top of the show here with the rebounding. This article from Taylor Eldridge here on the Wichita Eagles. Shout out to him. Maybe we'll have him on here in just a couple days or so to talk more about this. But I was hearing a certain phrase kind of recoined this past season, about maybe 10 years ago or so in NBA circles. And maybe even 20 years ago, something called the Kobe assist floated around. It's like, what the heck is the Kobe assist, guys? Well, we know Kobe Bryant, a very shot first heavy kind of shooting guard, right? But a lot of times he would shoot through double teams, triple teams. But what had allowed things to happen is on the offensive glass, there would be a couple guys who weren't boxing out, who were contesting the shot, and that allowed for a high percentage of offensive rebounding back in the day with the Lakers. And look, Taylor Eldridge kind of brought this back to Wichita State here, and really Kenyon Giles for launching a lot of threes. You would have several games, especially in conference play, where he was shooting 10, 12 more three-point attempts in a game. And the Shocker offense, to their credit, kind of recognized, hey, this might turn into a Kenyon Giles possession late in the shot clock. Let me sort of work my way here into the paint. And that wasn't just a Will Berg. That was a Karan Boyd, even maybe a Michael Gray got in there. And that led the Shockers to retrieving 38% of their own misses last season. They averaged 15 second chance points per game. They averaged 15 offensive rebounds per game, was just an astronomical number. That became their most dominant differential in the stat sheet, game in, game out.
Yeah, analytically it makes sense, the Kobe assist thing. But when Taylor wrote about it and was talking about Kenyon Giles, it was in a very positive manner. Like, this is a good thing for Wichita State's offense. But in reality, when somebody says, you get a lot of Kobe assists, they're not usually using that as a compliment, right? Yeah. It means Kobe was a ball hog. But that is what Paul Mills asked Kenyon Giles to do on that team. He said, shoot the ball. If you miss it, we'll go retrieve it, and we'll put it back in the basket. I think, part of the offensive rebounding numbers from last year, I think Wichita State will still be a very good rebounding team this year. They've got a lot of the guys, Batee, Williams, Berg, back that got a lot of those offensive rebounds. But part of that number was they took a lot of jump shots, right? And not just three-pointers, right? Giles was taking threes, but he was taking mid-range twos as well. And those are more of a 50-50 ball when they come off the rim, right? In that regard. And they didn't shoot a super high percentage, right? They shot 33% from three, 49% from two, which was 284th in the country. And so those jump shot twos gave them an opportunity to get offensive rebounds. Now, I hope they get 38% of their misses again this year. But with more facilitating guards, you're also hoping that a lot of those twos are like dunks at the basket and lay-ins, and those are not opportunities for offensive rebounds. And so if the number comes down a little bit this year, it won't bother me if they're shooting a higher percentage. But if they're still taking a lot of jump shots or even threes, you do still want to see a good percentage of offensive rebounding. And Mills wants it to be a calling card of this team, and I'm all for it, right? That's one thing Shocker fans can get behind, too, because in the heyday of Shocker basketball, they were always a really good rebounding team. And that 38% number, it eclipsed anything they ever did, even from 2012 to 2018. So it's something Shocker fans can get behind for sure.
I'm not sure if you can quite replicate 15 rebounds per game this upcoming season, but even if that diminishes just slightly, you're still going to be elite in that category in the American and pretty respectable around the country. But now the question is, okay, you lose an Emmanuel Okorafor, who actually started a lot of games at center, even over a Will Berg. Berg giving you about 21 minutes per contest. Karan Boyd was very, I don't want to even say underrated, because I think he got his flowers. We talked about him plenty, but he was such a big part of rebounding last year on the squad, 6 per contest. That was actually second on the team average-wise. And look, I think, Karan Boyd's a guy who also chipped in a lot defensively. I was looking earlier before the show. Karan Boyd had 3 conference games where he gave you double-digit rebounds. I think he's going to probably be your biggest absence. There's a photo that really breaks this down well. It kind of summarizes, I think, the rebounding for WSU last season. And you got a Tulsa player that's absolutely tied up in the middle. I believe he was an all-conference Tulsa player as well. You got Wilberg on one side with hands on the basketball. You got Karan Boyd on the other with hands on the ball as well. That was just about every possession in the interior with Wichita State versus whoever last season. And so that's going to be a similar mentality here this year. I think Wilberg's going to lead the charge. I think if his minutes take an uptick from about 21-22 to 25 plus, he's going to go from a 9-8 guy to probably a 12-10 guy. I think you can write him down for a double-double on most nights. But then I see Dylan Petit, if he's got in the weight room this summer, 6'9" at 216, maybe he's up into the 220s this year. I think he'll up his rebounding tick as well. I think Noah Hill, with more minutes, can provide that. I think it's Sear Belonga you look at to have a big rebounding responsibility. But I almost think, hey, you lose Boyd's rebounding a little bit. Where else does that come from the wing spot? I'm interested to see how Bryce Hurd can do this year.
I mean, Bryce Hurd's the obvious answer to who's going to replace what Karan Boyd did. He's not the same player. He's probably not as physically strong, but if he can somewhat replicate Karan Boyd in that regard, then you get it from other places. Mike Gray Jr. was a pretty good rebounding guard when he was in there.
Yeah.
Jahari Long's a bigger guard than anyone we played last year. And so maybe he helps out on the glass a little bit there. You get some more minutes with TJ Williams and Dylan Petit together, then you're a little bit bigger because you got 2 guys who were both playing the 4 last year. Now it's your 3 and 4. And I think you get the similar from Berg and Malonga and Noah Hill. You get similar to what you got from Okorafor and Berg last year. I mean, I'd love to see Berg be a 12-10 guy, but, man, I think that's a lot to ask. In rebounds per minute last year, he was one of the top in the whole country, but I've never seen a guy come into Wichita State and average double-digit rebounds in a game. I know Xavier McDaniel did it a long time ago, but I've never personally seen it with my eyes, and it's because it's really hard to get 10 rebounds a game in college basketball, and you got to be playing a lot of minutes and pulling down a lot of boards, and I think Berg he'll play a few more minutes than he did last year, and hopefully his overall production stays there. But if he can be at 8 or 9 a game again, that's still a big number. If he gets to double digits, I think you're talking about first-team all-conference type stuff from Wilberg.
And I think that's in his repertoire. I think he has the capability, the cardio, running up the hills, jogging the laps around the track, running the wind sprints on the hardwood. That's going to be where Wilberg can make his biggest improvement, I think, more so than anything in game.
Just to break it down a little bit further for Berg, a stat I was looking up last year a little bit was rebounds per minute. I don't have that in front of me because I don't remember where I looked it up, but I got something else in front of me, and it's a really telling stat, and it kind of factors in the minutes because it matters how much you're on the court. Wilberg was 15th in the country in offensive rebound percentage, meaning he got 16% of all offensive rebounds that were available when he was on the floor. So you think about it, there's 10 guys on the floor. 10% is a fair share. He got 16%, and you factor in that the defensive guys are more likely to get him than the offensive guys. He was probably double what he should have been in that number.
Wow.
But on top of that, he got 23% of all defensive rebounds available when he was on the floor, which was top 70 in the country. You're thinking about thousands of players. So on both sides of the ball, he was one of the best in the entire country at rebounding the basketball. And that's so those are some telling numbers about Wilberg.
Yeah.
You brought up Karan Boyd. Actually, TJ Williams was nationally ranked in offensive rebound percentage. Karan Boyd wasn't. And Okorafor was too. So you got to replace Okorafor's production.
Yeah, you're right. Reminded me, TJ Williams, especially it felt like in fourth quarter or overtimes, he had a knack for whether it was his own putback off of a missed layup or just kind of soaring in from the wing, just slicing through and getting a little tip right there above the rim.
Yeah.
That was something that was in his bag as well. Looking here to Facebook, Murphy's Agent. It's Monday, fun day. Let's go, gentlemen.
Let's go.
And I'm reading this here in the article as well. I'll admit it's a bone I'd like to pick because I'm not a super big fan of this restriction from the NCAA. I get you have to have some. It's the summertime. Players aren't in school. They're not taking classes. And so it's kind of viewed as like free time that they have to spend here practicing for the university. Of course, there's individual time these guys can do on their free time without the coaching staff there and attendance organizing it. But we had talked about this early in the summer, how the NCAA allows basketball programs to distribute 8 allotted hours weekly for summer work, however they choose. Now, the traditional model, I believe WSU still keeps it here at 4 hours on the floor, 4 hours in the weight room. In my honest opinion, man, I would view the weight room as a separate thing. Like, yes, it's very, hand in hand with basketball productivity here on this level. You've got to have a strong body to produce, but I almost would be in favor of having that 8 hours just be on the floor playing basketball. And then if you have a strength and conditioning coach who meets with these guys, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe a weekend day as well for an hour, I feel like that should be separate. It's just my critique.
Yeah, the NCAA rules used to be, right, 4 on the court, 4 in the weight room. They opened it up to kind of give people the option to do it the way they wanted. But I agree, like 8 hours is not a very big number. You could almost get to where you did 8 on the floor, and then you can do however many hours with the strength and conditioning coach, set a number on it, but the head coach and the basketball coaches can't be there. Yeah. I would like that. But I think the NCAA's kind of thing is it's not in season, right? And so if you start going 8 hours on the court and there's strength and conditioning on top of that, if you go with like a 4-day work week, say they're off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's 2 hours of practice every single day. That's a little bit like you're in the season. And I think their goal is for the summer not to be the same as in the season, because that number goes up substantially whenever official practices start, and I don't know what the date is on that. But they want the summer to be a time where the team gets to work together a little bit, but you're not like way off the pace if for whatever reason you couldn't be there in the summer or you're doing something else in the summer. And so I don't hate it. I like the fact that they let them use it how they want. I think you could go to a little bit bigger number, right? Maybe 10 or 12 if that includes everything with basketball and conditioning. But the 8 is the number they've gone with.
It just feels like when players are getting paid the way they are now, like, hey, man, show up and put the time in a little bit. But, of course, there's restrictions from the NCAA. And then I think it's still smart for Wichita State, especially with rebounding being their goal at the top of their priority list. I think it makes sense. 4 hours in the weight room, 4 hours on the floor. You can tell some of these other programs are not spending 4 hours weekly in the weight room in basketball. You can kind of just see a couple guys on the roster are still hanging around in the 160s, 170s. Yeah. This is high-level D1 basketball. I got to think that the Shockers are using
and
those minutes.
A little bit of the thought process might be, too, is like these guys are going to get in the gym on their own.
Yeah.
I want to watch them lift weights, because if I say we're going to use all the time for basketball, go lift weights on your own, that might not happen. But if I say we're going to lift weights together and go play basketball on your own, there might be a higher likelihood of that happening.
And there's a science to where I think you can be years experienced in the gym, and it still really helps to have an expert in there, kind of catching little things off. In the basketball floor, I would say each one of these guys is probably still playing 2 hours of ball per day.
Yeah, they're playing pickup with each other and getting shots up. And so I think the key is maximizing the 8 hours. Is like when you have the 8 hours with the coaches, it's really productive, good time, and not just like getting shots up, because you can do that on your own anytime. But Mills wants to use the weight room still because he knows they need to be strong for rebounding. To kind of wrap up that rebounding conversation, they basically had 5 guys getting offensive rebounds last year, essentially on the whole roster, and it was Williams, Berg, Batee, Okorafor, and Karan Boyd. 3 of the 5 are back. They'll have to replace the other 2. So there you go.
I think you and I can fill a whole 2-hour show just talking Shocker men's hoops.
Yeah, and come this winter, we will a couple times a week.
I'm excited for Friesen. I think Berg can take it to the next level. I think Dylan Batee, though, might see the biggest jump of any player in the AAC.
That's the word coming out at camp, right, is that we saw him progress last year and that it's even continued. And when you see a guy peak late in a season like that, a lot of times they come back with a lot of confidence the next year.
Hannah Whetstone from Cake Sports joins us next on the Press Box. Don't touch that dial. Stay tuned for a fun one.
Call the Press Box now on the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone lines at 522-1410.
The Press Box on KGSO.
40, to the 30. The Burgers are on.
High school football is almost here, and your one-stop source for all your high school football is your High School Football Guide from the Mid-America Sports Network. Stay tuned in and hear where you can pick up your copy. Catch each team's season schedule, read about each team and coach, and follow your favorite team all season long. It's the Mid-America Sports Network Football Guide, and it's coming to a location near you.
Need life insurance but have diabetes, high blood pressure, or on anxiety meds? If you're a 50-year-old male, even porky, or with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of life insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. For affordable term life insurance, call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-444-2013, 800-444-2013, or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. 800-444-2013.
Fall is rapidly approaching, and the ideal time to core aerate and seed a fescue lawn is September 1st through mid-October. Let the professionals at Meadowlark Landscape and Design give you an honest assessment of your lawn and its needs. They offer core aeration, overseeding, and dethatching services. Call them today, 316-880-0227, 316-880-0227, and get on their schedule for this fall. It's Meadowlark Landscape and Design, the trusted partner of Steckline Communications.
Every school pickup line has a main character. Most days, it's the kids. But once a year, a parent pulls up in a brand new Kia Telluride. And suddenly, all eyes are on Mom.
Is that the new one? I heard it comes in a hybrid now. I heard it has heated seats in all 3 rows.
And for a moment, the kids aren't the only ones in the spotlight. This August, let that parent be you, because Mom deserves to shine too. Or if it's your student's turn to get behind the wheel, find great starter cars like the K4 sedan and K4 hatchback. Plus, you can get 0% financing on brand new Sportage and Sorento models. And every new Kia is backed by our unbeatable 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Whichever model you choose, we have big savings on great vehicles for that main character energy. Only at Midwest Kia.
We want to see ya in a Midwest Kia.
With approved credit, see dealer for details. Warranties a limited powertrain warranty.
KGSO Studio, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Expert installation done right. Right on schedule. Find them online at renewalbyanderson.com. Wichita's home for college football is KGSO.
Look, folks, I told you to expect a big segment. I think we're going to get one. Here at the Press Box, 4 to 6, Monday through Friday. She's becoming a staple of our Monday shows, catching up back from the weekend from Cake Sports. She is Hannah Whetstone. Sounded like she had a big smile on her face there when I called her on the phone. Hannah, what's up?
Hello. Thanks for having me, guys. Happy Monday.
Absolutely not a problem at all. I think we could use your appearance. We were going back and forth a little bit about Shocker men's basketball, getting hyped up for the season there, reading that rebounding article on Wichita Eagle, but we'll kind of bounce off. We'll move to some other things. You kind of reminded me there in the break. You did go to K-State. You are a Wildcat, but you are here now in Wichita. And look, another former Wildcat, even kind of close to home here from Equity Bank Park, a former Wichita Wind Surge member, Kalen Culpepper, got called up to the big show. And for the Minnesota Twins, back on Friday, he's up to bat, plate appearance, his first hit, boom, hits it over the fence for a home run. I'm going to play the audio now, and then I want to get your reaction to what was a big day for Mr. Culpepper.
Okay, that kind of spin.
Uh-oh. Culpepper in the air to left center field and deep. This one some carry to the track, to the wall, and it's gone! Kalen Culpepper, his first first major league hit is a home run.
You know, something I really like about Major League Baseball and I respect from the broadcasters is they understand the moment and they treat it like a massive deal for every guy who gets called up when they get their first big league hit, big league home run. They make it well known. You, in your time, you followed Kalen Culpepper longer than we have. Tell me about how cool this is to see.
Well, it was awesome to see. I actually am thinking about the moment that I saw that he had hit the home run in just his second at-bat, right? It's his first major league hit. I came back down from the Cake Studios from doing our 6 o'clock show. I refreshed my Twitter to see, like, I wonder how the Twins-Brewers game is going. And that's the first video that pops up. And I kid you not, I had both hands in the air, like fist pumping, because I was so excited for him. And I think that when you think Pete Hughes and K-State baseball in recent years, you would be remiss to not think of Kalen Culpepper right off the bat. I think he's easily one of the best. Maybe Tyson Neighbors might, challenge that of really, really good baseball players that have gone through K-State's program in recent years. But it's also really cool to see that he made his way through minor league baseball pretty quickly, right? Had a stop in Wichita, so now we have that tied to him as well. He was a former Wind Surge player, and just really excited. I'm really hoping he sticks up there and can stay with the Twins long term. Obviously, if he, comes back down to the Saints, that's okay. But I'm really hoping he can stay up there in Minnesota.
Yeah, exciting stuff for him for sure, and I hope he has. Hope it's the start of a great career for Culpepper. Let's go to the NFL just for a second here. The Chiefs have their first preseason game on Saturday. They're hosting the Rams, the Super Bowl favorites right now. Any way you slice it, they are the Super Bowl favorites according to Vegas odds. And Andy Reid had some comments today, basically like these two teams play in the regular season. The Rams aren't going to play anyone. The Chiefs Mahomes isn't going to play, and we'll see who else they do play. But he said they'll keep it pretty vanilla. Is there anything we can glean from a game like this? Heading into it, or like what can we expect to learn in this Chiefs-Rams preseason game?
Ooh, I like the word vanilla. We're going to keep it vanilla. But I think that, something that obviously the Chiefs have been like talking about, I feel like the most conversation has been about their big rookie class. They have like lots of newcomers. So my hope is that, we get to see some rookies in action on Saturday and maybe get a little glimpse into what we could expect to see from them later down the line, right? It is fascinating to me when I hear the sentence, the Chiefs are the Super Bowl favorites.
No, I was talking about the Rams. I was talking about the Rams.
Oh, the Rams.
Yeah,
sorry. I
their
totally
opponent.
misunderstood you then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes more sense. Because I was like,
Yeah.
no, they're not.
Yeah, call them out, let them know.
I was like, what is Vegas doing? But anyways, yes, I think that the rookie conversations that will come out of Saturday will be the most important. And, obviously it's preseason. Guys are competing for spots and they want to play in regular season games, right? Like receivers and running backs want to take passes and handoffs from Patrick Mahomes. So I think that there's a lot on the line for a lot of guys. And I feel like that's going to be taking center stage in these preseason matchups.
Talking with Hannah Whetstone from Cake Sports here in the press box on KGSO. Yeah, Sasha and I have kind of realized in recent days, you start talking a lot of preseason, you realize you're kind of just talking about like a wish list as opposed to what's going to play out in reality as far as the action you'll see between the lines. But kind of in the wake of the Hall of Fame ceremonies last week, Sasha and I kind of started a little series that we're continuing at 5 o'clock, moving on to the defensive side. We've spent pretty much a day with each position, kind of looking at the Hall of Famers, each position, who's maybe queued up to get their name called in a couple of years, some of the all-time greats. And we were on the tight ends last week, and it kind of sparked a bit of a debate between Sasha and I. Sasha's the mentality that Travis Kelce is far and away head and shoulders above any other tight end, Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski, to ever do it. I kind of pushed back a little bit and said, hey, man, Rob Gronkowski's really close. I like what Gronk was doing, early 2010s in the regular season. Let's get an answer out of you. Hannah, who is the tight end GOAT in football?
Travis Kelce.
By the way, I said above Gronk because Gronk's not number 2. I didn't say head and shoulders above everyone.
You got Tony?
Tony's above Gronk, too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Back it up.
I've been a Travis Kelce gal for a really long time. You're not going to get a different answer out of me, but also I agree with Sasha. It's number 87. Get him in there.
Yeah. Just to put some numbers on it, Travis Kelce has 400 more receptions in the regular season and 5,000 more yards in the regular season than him. He's 10 touchdowns short in the regular season, and he's the most productive postseason pass catcher of all time. Not just right, tight end, pass catcher.
Jay-Z, what is your counter to that? I mean, numbers don't lie.
I mean, that was kind of a point I made. Like, I do give it to Kelce. I just think it's close. Like, I think Gronk hit a peak where the whole football world was kind of getting around to the idea, man, is he better than a Shannon Sharp? Is he better than a Tony Gonzalez? Is he better than an Antonio Gates? But then Travis Kelce, towards the end of the 2010s, kind of started to make a run. And here in the 2020s, I kind of eventually said, look, when Travis Kelce was going for a three-peat, it just felt like we had never seen a offensive connection between he and Mahomes. Like, I even compared it to how underwater sea creatures can communicate through frequencies. It's like Mahomes is on the scramble and Kelce just knows exactly what they're doing. They're talking in telepathy, right? I had to say that, look, Kelce gets the edge, but I think Gronk is close. I would have Tony 3, maybe Gates 4, and so on and so forth. But I had to ask you a little bit about the tight end GOAT debate.
All right, fair enough. I'll accept your argument.
All right, we can keep it here on the Chiefs as well. I know there's been a couple of skirmishes, you could call them, in practice. I know Sua Mataia and FAU had one on the line of scrimmage the other day. I know we've seen Kenneth Walker and Drew Tranquill kind of go back and forth just a little bit. And then maybe the third piece to it, maybe the more relevant piece, is Eric Bieniemy is now back. He was shaking a lot of hands, a lot of hugs this morning. Kind of a two-parter. What do you think of the energy we see? We're teammates. We see this with Kelce, your guy now for a couple of years. He's starting a couple of scrums in practice, you could call them. What do you think of the preseason fights in camp? And then what do you think of Bieniemy making a return? Kind of two completely different stories, but we'll group them up in one.
Yeah, well, first, all the maybe scuffles or skirmishes that happened at training camp, specifically on Saturday, right, is where we saw a lot of that. I don't read too much into it. I mean, I think there's a lot of factors that are playing into these guys maybe getting after each other a little bit more than usual. One, they're practicing in extreme Midwest heat, for one. Two, Saturday was day 6 in a row of they're in pads, right? They're hitting each other, all these things. So they're exhausted, of course. And three, there are a lot more guys at camp than will be on this final roster, right? Like, these are guys playing with chips on their shoulders. They're competing for spots. So I think that all of those things together, of course, there are going to be scuffles here and there. But, Dave Tube and Patrick Mahomes both talked about it after camp on Saturday that, that's just part of it. That wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It's just football. Those guys, they don't hate each other. They're not after each other out, off the field type of thing. So that, I think, gives you some peace of mind as well. So I don't really read too much into it. I think that it's just hot and they're tired and they want to play. Eric Bieniemy being back at training camp, I think, is wonderful. Obviously, we'd heard that he was, FaceTiming in or watching practice and everything like that while he was with his wife. But I think having him back in St. Joseph is really good. And I was seeing on Twitter, people thought that today's practice with him back was the most cohesive they had seen these offensive units move since camp began. So perhaps that's because they're, a week and a half in, or perhaps that's because Bieniemy is back and everyone's falling in line and right, like all of those things. But just from the video I've seen, people are, players and coaches and staff are clearly very thrilled to have Eric back in St. Joseph and, kind of get back to normal or get back to what they were planning for on that front. So I think it's great.
Yeah, listen, Eric Bieniemy, they put a lot of eggs in the bringing him back basket, so I think it's important that he's there, and I'm glad this didn't drag out a long time. That said, first and foremost, his obligation is to his family, so hopefully his wife's doing well, and everybody's thinking about that as well. I was going to ask you something about, like, the Royals and progressing towards next year, but we got all offseason to do that, and who cares about the Royals right now? So I'll ask you this, and it might be a little early, so I'll try to keep it pretty general and not catch you too off guard here. But one of the things we do here at KGSO, and Cake does a lot of, is cover high school football, high school sports in general, but high school football in particular. So this will be your first year out on the prep scene. Is there any teams from around this area that you're kind of looking forward to seeing on the gridiron this year, whether it's teams you've heard about in the past or teams you think might make a step this year? Any teams you're looking forward to watching this year in high school football?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think that the team I'm most excited about, obviously not being directly from Wichita, I'm not these aren't high schools that I went to nor played when I was a high schooler myself, but Cape and Mount Carmel won a state championship a year ago. So obviously, you know, they're the top dogs. They're at the top of the hill. Everyone, they've got a target on their back, but I think that that's really exciting. And it's exciting for the City League, right? That maybe players or teams are going to be gunning for Capen, but they've also have a title to defend. So I think that is really exciting to me, that we have a team in the area that, you know, won a state championship, but also, right, like all these other teams are right there with them and have, you know, lots of skill and are well coached and all of these things, right, that I think will make for a really interesting season. And it definitely means that every other team in the City League has Capen circled on their calendar, right, which I think makes things really exciting as well.
Yeah, I would say just a lot of teams that are coming to my mind, of course, KGSO, the home of Bishop Carroll. I think Derby is going to be a very interesting team. You know, Mays as well from the higher classifications. I think Northwest, kind of maybe the ending of their season didn't quite sit right with them. We've been kind of going through and, you know, mapping out the KGSO schedule, the KQAM Game of the Week schedule as well. We cannot wait for Friday night action in high school football. Final question for you, Hannah. We'll circle it around because, you know, Sasha kind of asked you about your anticipation for high school football. We started up the show talking a little bit about Shocker men's basketball. You've been more plugged into KU and K-State, but kind of what are you hearing so far from Wichita State basketball? Anything that you're looking forward to seeing? Maybe trying to get an idea of, you know, what Paul Mills' brand of basketball is. You're going into a year where the Shockers have high expectations to maybe win the American Athletic Conference.
Yeah, I am very excited. I love college basketball is the starter that everybody should know about me. Is anything college basketball, I'm there. So it's exciting to me that I'm going to add another team to my list of like teams that I'm really bought into. When I was at TBT, there were a good amount of Paul Mills' team on the sitting courtside, right, like watching everything, and I really liked their energy. I thought that was like a good vibe for them, right? Like they're all hanging out outside of practice and team stuff, and they're there in the roundhouse to see the crowds, everything like that, which I thought was really fun. But yeah, I'm really excited to cover this team where Paul Mills, right, gets this contract extension, which is great for the program, shows the confidence that Wichita State has in him and his abilities as a coach. But also, if, you know, they're favorites to win the American Conference, that makes things all the more exciting, and especially to have returners and like a Wichita native like TJ Williams on the team as well. And, you know, I got the chance to talk to him, probably a month and a half ago, and just to hear his perspective on the team, it was really great.
Well, it's great having you on. She is Miss Hannah Whetstone with Cake Sports, joining us most Mondays around 4:25. Hannah, I'm looking at your social medias. Anything that's coming out with you here pretty soon?
Well, you know, I'm going to start covering some Chiefs football. How about that? I'm pretty excited about it. I've never been to a Chiefs game in Arrowhead.
That's awesome. Looking forward to your reports. They're going to have a bounce-back season, Hannah. It's going to be because of you.
I'm ready for it.
Follow her on X, Twitter. That's Whetstone Sports. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Hannah.
We'll see ya. Stay with us.
This segment of the Press Box is brought to you by Wichita Clear Bra, the ultimate car care and protection. Online at wichitaclearbra.com.
The Press Box on KGSO.
The wait is officially over. The NFL is back on Sports USA. Every hit matters, and every play sets the tone.
He's going to throw. He's got a man all alone at the 20. Caught. 10, 5. Touchdown, Denver. Cortland Sutton.
It's where the rookies fight for their spot and the veterans stake their claim. This Friday, it's the Denver Broncos at the Atlanta Falcons on your home for the NFL, Sports USA.
Pre-game Friday at 5:30 right here on Wichita Sports Station, KGSO.
Football is here, and we are all excited to celebrate at Quincy's Bar and Grill. Quincy's Bar and Grill is packed full of TVs, so you won't miss any of the action of your favorite team.
Whether it's college or the NFL,
you can catch it all at Quincy's Bar and Grill, the longest-running sports bar and grill in Wichita. While you're there, grab a cold one with friends or grab something to eat from the great Quincy's Bar and Grill menu. Thursday through Sunday, you can catch your favorite football team at Quincy's Bar and Grill, 2047 Northwest Street, and online at quincy'sofwichita.com.
Straight Talk Wireless presents Pickup Truck Wisdom.
Trust is earned. That's why I've stuck with Straight Talk. Same price since 2009 on Verizon's 5G network. Cause shoot, anyone can make a promise. Keeping it for years, that means something.
Now plans starting at $25 a month with 4 lines. Find us at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Straight Talk Wireless. Straightforward. Always. Same price claim applies only to the base monthly price of our $45 plan from October 2009 to present.
Every school pickup line has a main character. Most days, it's the kids. But once a year, a parent pulls up in a brand new Kia Telluride. And suddenly, all eyes are on Mom.
Is that the new one? I heard it comes in a hybrid now. I heard it has heated seats in all 3 rows.
And for a moment, the kids aren't the only ones in the spotlight. This August, let that parent be you. Because Mom deserves to shine too. Or if it's your student's turn to get behind the wheel, find great starter cars like the K4 sedan and K4 hatchback. Plus, you can get 0% financing on brand new Sportage and Sorento models. And every new Kia is backed by our unbeatable 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Whichever model you choose, we have big savings on great vehicles for that main character energy. Only at Midwest Kia.
We want to see ya in a Midwest Kia.
With approved credit, see dealer for details. Warranties a limited powertrain warranty.
Who's your favorite team? It's okay. We just know you love KGSO.
Yes, big shout out to Miss Hannah Whetstone. Whetstone with a W-H-E-T. We like to call her the Dry Rock from time and time again. Excited to see her breakdowns with K-State football coming up here in just a couple of weeks. We're around the corner. We were discussing, hey, maybe we start some series. We talk some fantasy football. We're going to have to start a series kind of breaking down each team in the Big 12. That's very exciting. I've already been looking at some schedules for the upcoming season. We've talked about Paul Mills and this rebounding story that came out today. Wishing the Shockers the best of luck on the boards this upcoming year. We talked and played the little clip from Kalen Culpepper getting the first home run of his Major League Baseball career. It came through his first hit back on Friday. And look, the guy is Kind of a K-State legend, you can call him that here. 23 years old out of Memphis. He had a slash line of 314-403-531 to go along with 26 homers in his time at K-State. He had a pretty good line as well at Wichita for the Surge, at 285, 11 homers, 30 RBIs in 59 games here in the ICT. We've talked a little bit of baseball today. Maybe we get around to it again before the show's done. The show's done. I know it's a trip out west to the Dodgers for the Royals. Just crossing your fingers you don't get swept, but maybe more relevant things going on, Sasha. We're gonna get to our Hall of Fame series, continuing there with the Hall of Fame monitor and ProFootballReference.com. It's week 2 of it, so we'll go to the defensive side. We'll start with the D-line, D-ends, and D-tackles coming up here in about 5 minutes, but it's a good time to call the show, 522-1410. And I am seeing a couple of quarterback battles that are catching my eye here. Sasha, I don't know if you know this, man. We're less than a month away from the start of pro football and college football. And, well, I'm seeing 4 teams that have yet to name a QB1 starter.
Yeah, the one that's catching my eye, right, is the one we've been talking about for a while. It's in Cleveland. It's the one I think most people are locked into, although they're all interesting, is Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. And I was hearing today, like, there might be 50 million reasons they just play Deshaun Watson to begin things. Like, they're still paying him $50 million a year, and they might just have to start with him. And he's like, it's really hard because there's like 2 completely different people that Deshaun Watson's been on a football field. He was, first of all, people were making fun of the Chiefs for drafting Patrick Mahomes ahead of him, and for about 2 years, it looked like people might be right? Like, especially his rookie year, he played, Mahomes didn't. Then Mahomes set the world on fire in year 2, so it's kind of over after that. But Deshaun Watson was very good for 3 or 4 years. It didn't look like a blowaway right away. And then all the scandals happen in Houston. He misses some seasons, and he goes to Cleveland. He's been mostly off the field, but when he's been on it, he's been really bad, really, really, really bad, like the worst quarterback in the NFL bad.
Yeah.
And so then you have this Shedeur shiny new toy that's kind of like, he's probably not as good as he's definitely not as good as his fans think he is.
No.
He's probably not as bad as people who don't like him say he is. He's somewhere in the middle of that, but he's a 5th-round pick. And he doesn't have any, he doesn't have any rights to becoming an NFL starter and getting his chance. A lot of 5th-round picks never start a game in the NFL.
5th-round pick,
it's the round he got drafted in, Jacob.
But it's not necessarily accurate to what all the hype was, and still is.
Hype is just that.
With Shedeur Sanders.
Like, where you get drafted is a real data point. Hype is just fugazi. It's in the ether. It's nothing. It's just hype. Where you get drafted is a real data point to what the NFL thinks you are.
Yes, but it was off of his pre-draft interviews, right? It was
they do those interviews for a reason. It's to figure out if you're worthy of a good draft pick.
By no means am I saying that Shedeur Sanders is going to turn his career into a full-time, very productive starter in the National Football League. Heavens no. All I'm saying is that if we continue just to call him a 5th-round pick, he doesn't really match up with other 5th-round picks. Like the way he's covered, honestly, he performed a little bit better than a 5th-round pick overall in college. I think the way he went into that bowl game was atrocious, and then his performance there against BYU some years back. I think you're right with Deshaun Watson probably needing to start the season, because if Shedeur starts and sucks, it's like, all right, where do you go from there? You don't even really want a $50 million backup, but this fan base is going to be calling ad nauseum for Shedeur.
My larger point about Shedeur being a 5th-round pick is not that nobody drafted that late could ever be a good NFL quarterback. He could be, and he might be. My point about him being a 5th-round pick is he doesn't have any, God-given right to get a chance, right? A lot of 5th-round picks never see the field, and if they do, it's because of injury. And so if he gets a chance, great. And if he capitalizes on it, great. But it's not like you're a top 10 pick who's going to get 3, 4, 5 chances to show that you're good enough to play because they want to justify their pick. He thought he was going to be a top 10 pick, but he wasn't. And whether it was because of his interviews or his play on the field, if it's because of his interviews, that's his own fault, right? That's nobody else's fault but him. And a lot of people were talking about him being a top 10 pick, but by the time the draft actually came around, I don't think that was the consensus anymore. People were very surprised that he slipped to the 5th round, but that's what the NFL market told you, not Mel Kiper Jr. or Todd McShay.
They weren't projecting 5th round.
No, that's
him.
what I'm saying. Mel Kiper Jr. and Todd McShay can make their projections, but where you get drafted is what the NFL GMs say you are. And they said he's a 5th round pick.
I think a lot of GMs thought, hey, maybe this is a late first round
They
guy.
all had a chance to take him 4 times. They all had a chance to take him 4 times, and they didn't want to.
Right, and I'm not even saying they made the wrong decision. I'm just saying that Shedeur Sanders is not going to be treated necessarily like a 5th-round pick inside of that organization.
Yeah.
It's the Cleveland Browns. They've had a horrible track record of quarterbacks, but this all starts with Deion. Deion's play decades ago, and then Deion hyping him up beyond belief in college.
Let's not forget, and we can take this call, they also took another quarterback before they took him in the same draft. Even the Browns, even the team that took him, took someone else before him.
Gabriel. All right, you've only got 30 seconds. Apologies. What's up?
Hey, this is Big Mike, man. And I only got a couple seconds here to call, but you guys, I just caught the tail end talking about picks and all that kind of stuff. And you know what? It's like the NBA went to just 2 picks, period, right? First and second round, because it don't matter where you get picked at. Yes, you get money, more money for getting picked in the first round than expected, but how many first-round busts are there? You know, look at Brock Purdy. He's Mr. Irrelevant, right? And
yeah.
He's
Stick with us, Big Mike, if you'd like. Stick with us here to the break. Talk to you at 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Odd Couple with Rob Parker and Kelvin Washington.
Where are you with the preseason? You in? You excited just to take any little, like I said, semblance of football?
I've been to plenty of preseason games, and they are boring. Football is a great, exciting game. Preseason football is awful.
This is The Odd Couple with Rob Parker and Kelvin Washington.
Evenings on KGSO. And find KGSO on the SC Wichita app.
Right now, Rusty at Ford is making it easier than ever to save. Get 2.9% financing for 84 months, plus a $1,000 rebate on all 2026 F-150s. With dealer discounts and 2 years maintenance on us, now's the perfect time to drive home in a new truck. Looking for something else? We have 500 new and used vehicles to choose from. And don't forget, we'll give you up to $5,000 over KBB for your trade. Visit rustyatford.com. Simply the best place to buy. With approved credit, 2 years or 25,000 miles maintenance. See dealer for details. Raptor's not included.
Fire sale at the Black Friday Deals and Discount Store on 47th and Broadway. Truckloads of brand new items from Amazon, Walmart, and Target. But for just $10, nearly everything in the store is on sale for just $10 Friday and $7 on Saturday. Electronics like controllers, laptops, headphones, just $10. Name brand clothing and shoes, Stanley Cups, accessories, all kinds of household items, just $10. Come check out the brand new Ashley furniture for discount price. 120 days, same as cash, $5 down. So don't break your budget and shop today at the Black Friday Deals and Discount Store.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Odd Couple with Rob Parker and Kelvin Washington.
Where are you with the preseason? You in? You excited just to take any little, like I said, semblance of football? Does it matter to you, or is it a kind of a waste of our time and effort?
I'm out on preseason football. I'm sorry. The coaches are out on preseason football. Go look at the Rams and these other teams where they don't play their players. They don't even care. So if they don't care and you could have a regular season and the Rams are the favorite and they're not playing their people, why in the world would I care? I don't care. Am I going to break my neck to watch preseason football? I don't know. I've been to plenty of preseason games, and they are boring. Football is a great, exciting game. Preseason football is awful.
This is The Odd Couple with Rob Parker and Kelvin Washington.
Evenings on KGSO. And find KGSO on the SC Wichita app.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
What's the biggest myth about interscholastic performing arts? That you have to be the most talented or experienced to participate. The truth is, anyone can be a part of their school's performing arts. There are countless opportunities for students to participate, from theater, choir, and band to speech and debate. The bottom line, if you want to perform, there's a place for you.
This message presented by the NFHS and the KSHSAA.
This is Wichita's sports station, K230BY, 93.9 FM, 1410 AM, and 99.7 HD3. KGSO Belle Plaine, Wichita. Broadcasting live from the KGSO studios in West Wichita.
I feel more informed when I listen.
This is The Press Box on Wichita's sports station, KGSO.
The Press Box on KGSO.
Boy, that was a speedy first hour of radio. Welcome to the 5 o'clock hour. Here are the Press Box on KGSO. 21 years strong is the longest running sports talk station in the ICT. Jacob Zimmerman, Sasha Bushka in the Renewal by Anderson Studios. Expert installation done right on schedule. Call us back on the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone lines, 316-522-1410. Drop a comment on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. We are live for all of our shows. Watch it back if you missed them. Drop comments while we are live. We also got the SC Wichita app. If you like country, shout out to Hank. News Talk. If you like Mr. Andy Hoosier over there, 1480 KQAM. You got 102.5 La Raza as well. And, of course, KGSO on the SC Wichita app. All right, first hour recap. We talked Shocker Men's Hoops. We talked a little Chiefs. We talked a little Major League Baseball a little bit with Kalen Culpepper getting his first home run with the Twins, and a little bit of ongoing quarterback battles, which will have to resurface here in about 20 minutes. Jason Conander from WIBW is out today, but we got enough stories here in the NFL world and beyond to fill up another hour of show. Sasha, we're going to get into our Hall of Fame series. We were, kind of going back and forth with the tight ends a little bit. We had Felix Johnson on to talk about the big boys with the offensive line last week, quarterbacks, running backs, receivers. We're going to get to the D tackles and D ends here this segment. Sasha, how you doing, man?
I'm great. Excited about this. There's a few players pinpointed. One thing I'll mention before we get into it, when you look at the D-line, we won't have to worry about this with the D tackles, but when we get into defensive ends, there's a lot of ambiguity and crossover between defensive ends and outside linebackers because of 3-4s and 4-3s. And so the 3-4 outside linebacker is sometimes like a D end. The 4-3 D end is so if you don't hear us mention somebody, it might be because they're in the outside linebacker category on Pro Football Reference.
Absolutely. That's already stumped me with a couple of
I was looking for Derek Thomas, and I was like, where's Derek Thomas? And then obviously, he was in the outside linebackers instead of the D ends, and he was a pass rusher, right?
Even some of these guys played a little bit of, nose tackle, 3 technique. Maybe if they slim down, you could bounce them to the outside. Guys will, stunt and jump all around the line, but hey, we'll go off position value here. We'll start with the big boys, the defensive tackles. Once again, this is the Pro Football Hall of Fame Monitor Series of the Press Box, 5 o'clock segment, and we are on ProFootballReference.com. A quick reminder, every player has a score associated with their career based off of things like championships, first-team All-Pros, Pro Bowls, career stats. You know the gist. Hall of Fame average for defensive tackles, a score about 100 of 102 to be exact. You got some big names here. Aaron Donald. He's yet to go to the Hall of Fame because he retired in 2023. We think maybe he's making a comeback here in 2026. Bob Lilly, aside from AD, he's the top scorer of 159. He racked up 11 Pro Bowls. You got a Randy White and Alan Page, but kind of some big names to me. A Joe Green, a Warren Sapp, they are in. A Kevin Williams is waiting. You've got kind of some old school legends here who are in as well, kind of with lower scores. A Joe Klecko, a Curly Cole, but I think a lot of notable names here since 2000. A Cam Hayward, a Chris Jones, an Ndamukong Suh, a Fletcher Cox, a Vince Wilfork, a Haloti Ngata. We're going to have some fun today.
You went from Joe Green to Warren Sapp and skipped right over John Randall. Minnesota Viking great John Randall with the eye black everywhere. But yeah, it's okay. But yeah, there's some recents and some current players, right? I marked Aaron Donald as a current player. We'll see. Yeah. But like to me, when you go to the current players, it starts with the interesting ones, Cam Hayward and Chris Jones, right? And it's funny because they're right next to each other on this list. They're both a ways down from the average Hall of Fame D tackle of 102. But like we've talked about with other positions, average doesn't mean bare minimum to get in.
True.
And there's guys below them who are in. And I think everybody's kind of presuming Chris Jones is going in. A lot of that is the 3 championships and the heavy nature of being on a very visible team right now. But I do think Chris Jones goes in. And so it makes you wonder, does Cam Hayward eventually go in? He's the Steelers' D tackle. He's played his whole career in Pittsburgh, and he's still playing as is Chris Jones, but he started 5 years before Chris Jones, so he's had a really long career for a big guy.
Realistically, Chris Jones could maybe retire today, and I think he's going to have a decent shot of getting in. Not a first ballot or second, but I think later down the line he'll get his name called because he's associated with one of the more relevant dynasties in NFL history, the Kansas City Chiefs. And look, I think that's going to be the trend for guys who maybe don't quite have that average. If they have enough Super Bowls, if they have the playoff numbers, which we know Jones does, I think maybe you get the benefit of the doubt. And with Chris Jones, to be honest with you, it really hasn't been the numbers. I think it's been more of like the impact. If you're looking at like the All-22s, if you're watching game film, you're seeing his impact more than the counting stats. But Chris Jones, playoff career, does have 3.5 sacks. He's got a lot of TFLs. He's got 87.5 in the regular season. The 2022 season was his peak. I would argue 15.5 sacks he had then. But hey, back in 2018, that was the same number he put up in 16 games.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things as you look at Cam Hayward and Chris Jones side by side is Cam Hayward's counting stats are actually kind of huge, right? Obviously, there's the sacks, which everyone likes to look at with Dline, and he's a little bit ahead of Chris Jones there. But they've got the tackles listed here, and let's face it, defensive tackles just don't get involved in a lot of tackles, right? It's not what they're there for. They're there to eat up blocks, and the linebackers come clean it up. He's got the most tackles of anyone on the whole list, including Aaron Donald. He's got 796 combo tackles, 477 of them solo. So that's a guy who's kind of done some things outside the norm for his position. I wouldn't have thought of Cam Hayward as a potential Hall of Famer until doing this exercise.
Right.
But I think there's a chance he might get in.
He rattled off 6 straight Pro Bowls from 2017 to 22, and then in 2024 at age 35, he gave you a first-team All-Pro season with 8 sacks. Pretty impressive stuff.
A lot of havoc.
142 tackles for loss in 193 starts is a pretty quality clip. People don't really necessarily realize how rare TFLs are. There's only a couple you see per game. I would give Chris Jones a slight edge over Cam Hayward.
Can we talk about Suh?
I wanted to talk about Suh versus Fletcher Cox because those two are extremely close. They're the only 2 guys shy of the 100 mark, and Henry Jordan is in with that very score. Suh, his career is kind of marred by a couple things that happened. Stomp. But Fletcher Cox had a great career as well for the Eagles. He retired in 2023.
See, but you said it right there. Fletcher Cox had a great career for the Eagles. Ndamukong Suh had a great career for whoever would pay him the most in a given season. And I think that's the difference, right? I think the mercenary nature of Suh's career, where he was willing to kind of move around and just become a free agent and be a mercenary. I don't think the Hall of Fame voters look at that favorably, right? He started with the Lions. He did some things there. He was always kind of known as like a really talented player that wasn't really a needle mover for your franchise, right? He wasn't necessarily a leader in the locker room or a guy you build around. He's an extra piece you bring in to try to put you over the top. Yeah. And I think that works against him.
I don't know if I look into all the different teams he played as quite of a negative as you, but compared to a guy like Fletcher Cox, who continued to get those year in, year out deals, and I mean, we know the Eagles are one of the better run organizations in the sport. For them to keep them around, I mean, the Eagles are known to get rid of guys quick before their prime is over. And so to play all 12 seasons there for Philly, kind of accomplishment there in itself. I think Ndamukong Suh, his prime was shorter. There's no doubt about that from looking on his reference page. He did have 3 first-team All-Pros, which came in his first 5 seasons, but after that only made 1 Pro Bowl the rest of the way. He did hang around past his 30s, but he was definitely outside of his prime by then. His sack numbers don't really register as enough. Honestly, when I think of Ndamukong Suh, I think a lot more of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Yeah. And so, to me, that almost hurts like what he did in the NFL. It wasn't quite the peak he hit in college. I mean, Fletcher Cox is going to have a good case, making Pro Bowls in 7 straight seasons or 6. You threw an All-Pro second team in there at the start, and it is 7 there with that great stretch.
Yeah, I actually don't think either of them will quite get in. We'll see like what the ballots look like when they're eligible. It'll be only a few years from now, right? And who they're up against. You got these. We looked at a lot of those offensive positions that had backlogs, and it might help these guys that if Aaron Donald comes back and plays, because they won't go sit on the ballot at the same time as him. Like if Aaron Donald doesn't come back, him and Fletcher Cox are going on the same year. Not that Fletcher Cox would have been first ballot anyways, but it's like, okay, we got Aaron Donald in. We don't need to get another defensive lineman from that retirement class in. And so maybe it helps him if Aaron Donald comes back, but we'll see on those two guys.
Donald aside, you want to know the name of the statistically best defensive tackle still waiting? And he's been waiting now for 11 years. It is Kevin Williams, longtime Minnesota Viking from 03 to 13, played a couple more seasons there at the tail end of his career, but it's rare to see a guy make 4 straight first-team All-Pros. That's what Williams did. Again, he wasn't a guy who really, showed up a ton in the sack sheet, but the eye test and then 113 tackles for loss did show.
It's tough. He's more of the, it's that sack number that's probably keeping him out. He's got 63. A lot of these guys are closer to 100. But he was more of a traditional eat-up blocks tackle, which there should be a place for those guys too, like Vince Wilfork. Guys that necessarily weren't going to get sacks, but they do their job on the defensive side of the ball. It's just not a job. It's like offensive line, right? It doesn't accumulate a lot of stats. You got to look at the Pro Bowls and the All-Pros and that sort of thing.
Last 2 names I want to hit on who maybe have a shot. Likely no. One of these names I thought was going to be a lot higher on the list, and he is Vince Wilfork. Big old Vince Wilfork. You guys remember when he put on the overalls of the Texans when he was in his mid-30s? That's not the Vince Wilfork we remember, though. He was a big staple of the earlier Patriot days. He actually didn't hang around for the 2014 chip, and then they moved off of him. He's only got a couple sacks in his postseason career, but Vince Wilfork was not a guy who really got his name called a ton on television, but he was constantly getting double teamed. He's only got a handful of tackles for loss across his whole career compared to these other guys, but Vince Wilfork was one of those bodies that you heard kind of a year in, year out who got the respect of being a premier defensive tackle.
And he's exactly what I was just talking about, right? He had 16 sacks in his whole career, 39 tackles for loss. It wasn't about the numbers he put up. It was about the numbers he allowed his teammates to put up within a defensive scheme.
Haloti Ngata, I wanted to give a shout out to as well. 6 straight great seasons, from an All-Pro second team to 5 Pro Bowls in a row. From 2009 to 2013, he was kind of at the apex of defensive tackles, man. And again, kind of the statistics not really popping off the screen, but The eye test certainly did, and to me as a kid, the Madden ratings did.
Yeah, and we talked about like the crossover between defensive ends and outside linebackers. There should almost be two categories of defensive tackles too, which is like space eaters and Aaron Donald, right? Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, guys that are going to go get sacks because they're basically two different positions. It's just kind of depending on what the defense needs. Most defenses will have one of each, or if they can, that's the ideal. But you got to work with what's in front of you.
I saw a stat the other day that they were showing Myles Garrett's big season, and they were showing the T.J. Watt season with 20-plus sacks, and then they showed from 2018, I believe, Aaron Donald's 20-sack season. Aaron Donald was double-teamed, I think, as much as those other two players were combined those respective seasons.
Yeah.
He was double-teamed 60% of his snaps. Garrett was maybe double-teamed a quarter of every snap.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, it's easy. It's more likely for the guys in the middle to get double teamed than guys on the edge, but it's impressive that he got 20 sacks despite that.
All right, let's go to maybe I think these crop of athletes maybe have the best claim for best athlete in pro sports, and it is the 270 to 290 pound edge rushers here who do qualify as a defensive end and not an outside linebacker. We'll hit on the linebackers in tomorrow's episode, but hey, we got some notable names here. A lot of these guys have been stamped into the Hall of Fame. Once again, average score on Pro Football Reference for the Hall of Fame monitor for a Hall of Fame defensive end is 102. Scores for every player's career alongside of them. Reggie White is the standard. They say he had 2 Hall of Fame careers and one, an electrifying score of 239 for the 13-time Pro Bowler, the Super Bowl champ, and the sacks, 198 of them. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, impressive stuff. Reggie White, right? What's cool about him is he wasn't like the term freak came from this position, right? Yeah. Javon Curse was the first guy I ever heard referred to as a freak, and it's because he was chiseled but also 280 pounds. Reggie White didn't look like a lot of these defensive ends do in terms of like no body fat. You wouldn't call him a freak, but from an athletic standpoint, he was right there with all of them, if not better.
You know how insane it is to get the low body fat label when you played at 291 pounds? Like, I want people to understand, 99.99999% of the population. You got to take a steroid to get like that. But Reggie White, I don't think my generation really realizes how good Reggie White was because, look, to start off his career, years 2 through 4, he goes 18, 21, 18 sacks. That's in an era where they're running the ball on first and second down a lot. And and even these passing plays, I mean, a lot of them, it's like first option, second option. It's not there. All right, we're throwing it out of bounds or taking a sack here. Reggie White put up incredible numbers to win Defensive Player of the Year at age 37 with 16 sacks is one of the greatest longevity feats in the history of football in 1998. Crazy stuff. He even came back from my Carolina Panthers 1 year and gave you 5.5 sacks at nearly age 40. Rest in peace, Reggie White. Maybe not close to the dominance for an entire career, but certainly for about a 6-year stretch, we got to start mentioning J.J. Watt, guys. J.J. Watt, a 4-year stretch where he won 3 Defensive Players of the Year. That 4-year stretch, he averaged 17 sacks. It'd be 18 sacks per season in this day and age.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I was looking, J.J. Watt's third on the whole list, right, of all these defensive ends in terms of his score on this Hall of Fame monitor deal, and he's the only one not in yet because he hasn't been eligible yet. But it said 5 All-Pro, 5 first-team All-Pros, 5 Pro Bowls, and I was like, that seems a little light. Like, the first-team All-Pro is really hard to make, but Pro Bowl, so I go look at his page, and it's like, he basically had 5 healthy seasons, right? Like, he had his rookie season where he didn't make the Pro Bowl or first-team All-Pro. Then he had 4 straight dominant seasons, right? AP 1 every single year, All-Pro 1, Defensive Player of the Year 3 of those 4 times, and you mentioned it, just a ton of sacks nonstop. Then the injury bug hit. He had another healthy season in 2018 where he was a first-team All-Pro again, and then he kind of aged out. So it was a short peak, but the peak of it, right? I think him and Aaron Donald were very similar, although Aaron Donald he didn't have as many injuries, and so I think he surpassed J.J. Watt on like the modern defensive player list. But J.J. Watt was Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald showed up, right? That's the way people were talking about him. I think they're a little bit different positions. He played D-end in the 3-4 scheme, so still kind of inside. He played more inside than most of these guys we're talking about at D-end, and still stacked up a lot of sacks.
It's tough, the comparison with Aaron Donald and J.J. Watt, but I'll say this. J.J. Watt, that 4-year stretch, might be the greatest ever. It's tough here because, unfortunately, back in the day, tackles for loss were not an official tracked stat. And so I kind of have the mentality sometimes, look, if you played an era where a stat wasn't tracked, if it's far back enough, I don't know if I can just assume that you did something. I don't know if I can really count it. J.J. Watt's tackle for losses were counted. And he led the season. He led the league in tackles for loss. All 3 years he won Defensive Player of the Year. It's actually rare to see that, where a guy is just as impactful stopping the run as he is getting sacks off the edge. For me, when he came back in 2018, when he was kind of written off, he had played 8 total games through the 15 or the 16 and 17 seasons. When he came back and had a healthy season and was runner-up, basically, for Defensive Player of the Year. He had 16 sacks. And then at age 33, maybe some of these sacks were set up by his teammates just a little bit, but he got 12 and a half there with Arizona before ultimately retiring. J.J. Watt, when healthy, is one of the defensive end GOATs. But I do want to move on, kind of go into speed run fashion a little bit more. Kind of some names that are going to come up here in a moment, like a Cameron Jordan. Cameron Jordan's interesting. He's got a really long career he pieced together. He's got an 85 score when your average is 100, so he would not be out of the ballpark. 132 sacks is an absolute ton. But the problem with Cam Jordan is it's a lot of Pro Bowls without the All-Pros.
Yeah.
It's an All-Pro second team a couple times. It's, kind of going again to my statement of being in the division this whole time as a Panthers fan. Cameron Jordan never scared me, maybe the way a lot of these other Hall of Famers did.
I don't think there's enough meat on the bone with his career. Like, I think he played a really long time. He's been a very productive player in the NFL. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, right? Some of it is just like, you hear the name, do you think Hall of Fame? And I don't with Cameron Jordan. And that's a guy who it's not like he played 30 years ago, right? I was here for his whole career. And I've never thought of him as a Hall of Famer. And you don't know, like, a guy a couple spots up from him, Myles Garrett, he's going in as soon as he's eligible. And they played same years, right? Except Myles Garrett came around 6 years later, and he's had more impact by a long shot.
Big shout out to Julius Peppers. I once had a fat head of him on my wall as a child. J-Pep with 10 seasons of 10-plus sacks. All right, let's go to the phones, courtesy of Maximum Outdoor Equipment. How are you doing?
Hey, fellas, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
What's up, Joey?
Good. Hey, this is kind of a public service announcement. If you can avoid Central and Mays right now, there's a power outage in that area, and that intersection's got no stoplights, and it's backed up, and it's crazy. So just I wanted to call in. I know you've got tons of people listening. But, if you can avoid the Central and Mays intersection area, I would avoid that right now.
Yeah, that's a great tip because I go through that intersection on the way home.
Little traffic report there.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Joey.
Yeah. So, you bet. I just thought I'd call in because it's nasty there right now. So,
thanks.
Dude, you never know what you're going to get on the phone lines.
Listen, a little traffic monitoring is very appropriate for the radio, so I like that. But yeah, anyone else you want to mention with the D-ends?
Calais
Campbell's there. He's kind of a different style D-end, right? He's been kind of a space eater, but he did still put up 117 sacks in his career. I don't think he's quite going to get there, But you should get some credit for longevity, especially at these positions where you're banging against people nonstop. To play 17 years under those conditions should mean something.
Right.
But it's more about your peak as a player.
To me, yes. To me, Calais Campbell is a Hall of Very Good. And I mean very, very good. I think when we're doing this, especially on the defensive side of the football, we're seeing how there is a gap between first-team All-Pro and just being a Pro Bowler, right?
Yeah.
And the players who were able to hit that ceiling of their career where you talked about him as, man, is this the guy, the best player at his position in the NFL? If you get that claim a couple of seasons plus a few more Pro Bowls and nice longevity, that's a Hall of Fame career.
I wish the charts had second-team All-Pros too, because even that's still a little bit harder than Pro Bowl, and you can kind of combine those two as like you're the top 4 in your position if you're first or second team All-Pro for that season. Pro Bowl guys cancel and there's fill-ins, and so you just never know with Pro Bowls. But first team All-Pro is a good measure of it.
Dwight Freeney got in. He was on some more relevant teams. I think his ceiling was higher than a Cam Jordan, but those two and their Hall of Fame scores are identical here on Pro Football Reference. Michael Strahan is in. Bruce Smith is in. Jack Youngblood is in. Richard Seymour is in. Howie Long is in. Chandler Jones is interesting. I don't think he quite makes it. There's some what-ifs you could play with a defensive end spot.
Yeah. A little bit of the Freeney thing is, too, is like the Colts didn't have great defenses when he was there and Peyton Manning was there, but he was considered the best player on the Colts defense. So it's like you have these great teams with all these Hall of Famers. You got to give one defensive guy some respect.
Mathis actually isn't even close. Nick Bosa has a higher score than him. Hall of Fame Monitor Series. D-line. We got the linebackers tomorrow.
Call the Press Box now on the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone lines at 522-1410.
The Press Box on KGSO.
Want to hear more of KGSO? Don't forget to download our app today. Fill out weekly surveys, register to win great prizes, listen live, message our shows, and so much more. Plus, get reminders of special programming and games you don't want to miss. Just find SC Wichita in your app store and make KGSO your new favorite app. It's Wichita's Sports Talk, right on your phone. Download the SC Wichita app today with Wichita's Sports Station, KGSO.
Hi, this is Brian Davis with Davis Liquor Outlet. And this is Blake Davis with a deal on Bud Light 12-pack 16-ounce, just $13.99. And for you wine lovers, 90-plus wines, 750 ml, only $9.99. Davis Liquor Outlet, each store independently owned and operated. Neighborhood locations with superstore pricing.
Here's the tale of the daily Medfield. Same old pharmacy, same old bill, but those prices kept rising higher still.
Till the savings wrangler rode in, cool as can be. Tap Good RX, saving massively.
No plan? Don't matter none. Up to 80% off. The deals are done.
Discounts hitting harder than Ma's chili. Dang. That one little app does all the rest.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
Check Good RX. Good RX is not insurance.
Looking for a new-to-you ride? For over 70 years, customers have trusted Rusty Egg Ford with quality vehicles and exceptional service. We have 500 used cars available with 150 Ford Blue Advantage certified. From fuel-efficient cars to tough trucks and versatile SUVs, you'll find quality, value, and selection all in one place. That's peace of mind with every mile. Buy with confidence at Rusty Egg Ford. Visit rustyeggford.com. Family-owned and simply the best place to buy. See dealer for details.
New Game Plus with Oxy makes your laundry smell incredible and fights stubborn smells, like the ones your dog Biscuit brought into your freshly made bed last night. But you wash that all away with Game, and now you're drifting asleep to the scent and sound of waves. Ah, no, that's the dog licking your ear.
Biscuit.
It just might be our greatest scent ever, now with odor-fighting power. New Game Plus with Oxy.
Friday nights in Wichita mean one thing. Our kids, our teams, our lights on that field. Renewal by Anderson is proud to help light up Friday night lights across the Wichita area because we believe in the same things this community does. Craftsmanship, pride, and showing up for what matters.
So this season, cheer loud, and when you're ready to bring that same hometown quality home to your windows and doors, call Renewal by Anderson of Wichita. Renewal by Anderson, proud supporter of Wichita area Friday Night Lights.
This is The Herd.
You got to be consistent.
With Colin Cowherd.
Mic check. Okay, so if I said there's an NFL team, guess which NFL team was without 20 players who were injured at their practice? You'd be like, Niners. Well, that's what happened yesterday. And it's a lot of old guys. I know football is more than just vibes, but the vibes around the Niners are not good. The coach has a concussion. Ricky Pearsall now out for the year. Again, injuries. They say it's not the local substation. Whatever. They're always hurt. So old, expensive, and brittle has been this team's brand for the last 2 years. I think Kyle Shanahan, to a fault, is very loyal to players, high IQ guys on both sides that are smart enough to get his schemes. He's a little impatient. Therefore, he becomes overly loyal.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Weekdays at 11 a.m. right here on KGSO and on the SC Wichita app. KGSO Studio brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service. Find them online at renewalbyanderson.com. John Stugatz, afternoons on Wichita's sports station, KGSO.
Bringing you back to the press box here on your sports leader KGSO. Drop your comments. Call the show 522-1410. Look, man, you thought you heard enough football from us. We're going to keep the train moving along here as we'll kind of retouch back around to those ongoing quarterback battles. We've highlighted 4, maybe even 5 teams, you could say, still have yet to decide their official QB1. An interesting story also going out here in Washburn as it relates to their coach, a certain crash. We'll cover that a little bit. Jason Conander from WIBW is out this week. Sasha, dude, we're cruising along, man. We're cruising
Fired up. We covered the Shadur Deshaun thing, but we didn't talk about any of those other battles.
Yes. I do think Shadur is probably going to be starting the later weeks of the season, but all in all, it's the Cleveland Browns. How exciting can you necessarily get? Okay, let's keep it going here in the NFL world. Look, these battles, they are interesting. I know, look, if the old saying goes, if you've got 2 quarterbacks, you've got none. But I think there's an opportunity for one of these teams to see some real success at the quarterback position here in the 2026 season. I'll reveal that here in a moment, but let's go to the Atlanta Falcons. I think out of all the quarterback battles that are going on, this one seems the most miserable. This one seems like it has the least amount of upside, and honestly, if you've been a Falcons fan, you've kind of been through like the Desmond Ridder sweepstakes for a couple of years. You've lived in mediocrity. I think Atlanta has not really found their quarterback since Matt Ryan. It's been some time, and you continue to kind of test out, all right, a highly drafted quarterback who hasn't necessarily worked out in Penix Jr. versus, Tua Tagovailoa on a second destination. What's going to happen after his injuries he's seen in his career? I think the Falcons one kind of seems like the most miserable quarterback battle, but Sasha, you can kind of start here. Who do you think has the upper leg right now And as far as the Falcons and our projections, we weren't necessarily very specific when we did our comprehensive coverage series as far as how we projected the Falcons according to which quarterback. But I don't know if the record prediction changes.
Yeah, I think the Falcons wish that Michael Penix Jr. was the answer, right? Because that means they actually have a solution at quarterback. If Tua is the answer, then you just have a stopgap. I believe, and so that's kind of their problem. And their other problem is neither of them's healthy right now, right? Like Penix is coming back from a torn ACL. He's not in full 11 on 11s yet, and Tua's got some nagging stuff. He'll probably be available at some point, but you never know how long he's going to be healthy. I guess the one thing you can look at with the Falcons is they have weapons around both guys. Both guys should be able to deliver the ball to those weapons, and at least like if one of them gets hurt, whoever wins the starting job, you don't have a huge fall off to the next guy, or at least you would think not. And they both throw with the wrong hand, so you don't have to change your offense too much for that either.
The lefty quarterbacks, even going back to Mike Vick in the ATL, that's funny stuff. I think what hurts the Falcons is I referenced the 2024 NFL Draft, and look, the first 3 picks, I think whether there might be a little movement in a redraft or whatever, but I think, Chicago's happy with Caleb. There's still some to be determined with Jaden Daniels, although his rookie season was arguably the best of any season we've seen from these guys. Drake May, MVP runner-up, so on and so forth. But then you get down to 8, 10, and 12. And this was where Penix Jr., J.J. McCarthy, and Bo Nix were taken. Obviously, we're going to get to Minnesota here in a second with their quarterback battle. But Bo Nix, with how great he's done in his career, it kind of makes you think and play the what-if game with Atlanta. It's like, man, if we had Bo Nix, we're probably winning the division last season. And at least, the path success moving forward is a little bit more clear.
I don't know if I can get there, though. Like Sean Payton...
Yeah, but Nix has been way better than Penix.
Nix has been better than Penix. Yeah, but Penix, he didn't play very much his first year. Like, if Penix was over in Denver, I don't know. It's a what-if game, right? Like, if Bo Nix was in Atlanta, I don't think Atlanta's winning the Super Bowl or going 14-3 last year with their quarterback development.
No.
But it is clear, like, Penix has been, like, at best 5th out of the 6, right? And J.J. McCarthy's been bringing up the rear, but 4 out of 6 hit rate is pretty damn good for that draft. Mm-hmm. Hey, there's always going to be some guys that don't work out. And so, yeah, you can play the what-if game with Bo Nix, but you can play that with Trey Lance's draft too. Like, everybody, there's always somebody who takes the wrong one.
Can I give you a comparison here? And it's not a good one for Mr. Penix. You may be confused at the start, but you'll see why. Right now, Penix Jr. is giving me Anthony Richardson vibes, and that's not good. Look, coming out of college, I thought that Washington team was legit. I thought they were going to win the national championship. I thought a lot of the pieces from that core were going to go on to do good things in the NFL. Look, Penix Jr. with the knee injuries is one thing. He's shown he can actually recover from a ton of those, so maybe it's not the end-all, be-all with his career, but we're not seeing the talent. We're not seeing the long ball. We're not seeing Penix Jr. with the confidence that he played with when he was a Washington Husky, and the reason why I bring up Anthony Richardson here, his first 2 seasons, Richardson played 15 games. First 2 seasons for Penix Jr., he's played even less, 14 games, and there's just been 12 starts. He's 4-8 as a starter. Look, the interception percentage has been low for his standards, 1.1%. You like that, but look, Penix Jr., you got to test yourself. If you're out there as the starter, you got to use Bijan, you got to use Drake London. You've now paid some targets here, and so you got to come through. But I think the world where Penix Jr. was going to succeed was having some success, having stayed, injury-free his first 2 seasons, and then kind of showing you what he did in college. Look, the route with Richardson was like, hey, he's super young, maybe he can develop. Penix Jr. is already 26 years old.
Yeah, but Penix didn't. He played 15 games, not all because of his injuries. Like, they signed Kirk Cousins the same year they drafted him.
True, but the overall inexperience.
So he played the 3 games at the end of his rookie year. But, actually, I don't see the comparison at all because Anthony Richardson played 13 college games. Michael Penix Jr. started 48 college games. And so the problem I have with drafting a guy who's played 13 college games is you say they're raw, they're a project, they got to get some experience. Well, where are they going to get that experience except for losing games on an NFL field for you? And so sitting on the sideline holding a clipboard is not going to help you get it. And so at least with Penix, there's like a baseline of knowing how to play quarterback.
Oh, man. I think, honestly, the Falcons kind of really regret their Kirk Cousins signing and then drafting Penix Jr. months later. I mean, it just didn't make sense at all. So with that, let's go to the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone lines. You're inside the press box. What's up?
Well, since we're talking about these two quarterbacks and the contrast, and I kind of lean, not trying to be the judge, but I'm kind of leaning toward Sasha still. Because the one thing I'm looking at, or the few things I'm looking at, I guess first and foremost, who has the better coaching? But even at that, here's where it gets a little bit more dicier. Who has the better work ethic? Because we know they both have dealt with injuries. But from a mental standpoint, who's more mentally equipped and who mentally wants to succeed more than the other? I think I would give that edge to Michael Penix. As far as who has the better weapons, granted, the Colts, they got a decent running game, but when you look at the Falcons, they have an equally better good as running game as the Colts do, but they also have better weapons at the other skill positions. So I think as far as who's in a better position to succeed one over the other, it would definitely be Michael Penix, and especially I would give him the edge probably in his work ethic, because I think he's still a student of the game and wants to learn to succeed as opposed to Richardson. So that's my take on that, and I'm going to let you guys argue about it a little bit more, because it sounds good when you guys come across like Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon. I'm out.
I appreciate it. And the original comparison started with a quarterback battle in Atlanta with Tua. I just brought up Richardson as a comparison to a quarterback not really getting a ton of snaps in his first two seasons, whether it's injuries or whatever. And then before you know it, Penix Jr. is 26, and can he really reach the peak? I don't know if he can. I think Tua Tagovailoa, obviously, this guy needs to learn how to fall properly, for one. Maybe he has. I got to think a guy who at least, one season finished top 10 in MVP voting, the next season threw for 4,600 yards. I know that's 2.5 years removed. To me, if Tua is healthy, all ready to go, I think he should be the best play we could see from Atlanta Falcons quarterback this year. I think it should be Tua. Should be.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's left.
I mean, Tua has shown it in the NFL, and Michael Penix Jr. hasn't. I think Tua's best days are behind him. He got schemed up a lot in Miami. Waddle and Tyreek Hill helped a lot too, and Mike McDaniel knew how to use Tua's skill set. I also think there's a little bit of his best years were when Mike McDaniel first got there, and there's a little bit of the league figuring it out. He's limited. These are the things Mike McDaniel knows he can do. We just have to stop those things, and we're golden. And it took the league a little bit of time to figure that out, but that once they did, Tua was never as effective. And so I think I don't think either's a great option. I'll just stick with what I said at the beginning, which is if I'm the Falcons, I want Penix to be better than Tua, but I'm going to play who's ever better. If I whiffed on Penix, I'm just going to admit it, take my losses, play Tua, and see what I can do for the future later on.
And I'll transition into this next team that we'll cover here for about 2 minutes. I think the situation you have in Minnesota is pretty damning for the Vikings right now, because, look, you supposedly have a really good coach in there in Minnesota. You've seen it work with a little bit with Darnold and Kirk Cousins, of course. But here with the Vikings, they're kind of at a spot where I think their urgency is a little bit higher than it normally would, because you have what I think could still be an all-time great wide receiver in Justin Jefferson, and I don't want to see his career just go to waste. I mean, trade him to a contender for crying out loud by this point, but maybe there's a little bit of hope. We've seen Sam Darnold. We sort of saw Geno Smith do this for a season. I think it could be more the Geno Smith route where Kyler Murray kind of revives his career. If we're being honest, I mean, the Cardinals roster does not look good. They've put on some pretty bad film in practice. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks who could be decent and then not survive in Arizona. Kyler, to me, he needs to stay healthy. He needs to use his legs when he gets the chance. But this is more about admitting the bust that is J.J. McCarthy. 9 has not worked out well. His rookie season, he had more interceptions than touchdowns through just 243 attempts.
Yeah, I think Kyler Murray's probably going to be their best option. I will say this about the Justin Jefferson conversation, though. Like, not everybody's going to have a Hall of Fame quarterback their entire career. And the whole trade him to a contender thing, 2 years ago they won 14 games. Last year they were 9-8. So I don't think like the Vikings have any obligation to anyone to trade Justin Jefferson. He's literally had over 1,000 yards every season he's been in the league. He's doing just fine in Minnesota.
I don't know if even in those Kirk Cousins days, anyone had Kirk Cousins in their top 12 quarterbacks.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
He's never played with an elite one.
Just because you don't have an elite quarterback doesn't mean you have to trade your good player.
It doesn't mean you have to.
No, and it doesn't mean you should either. You definitely should not. Because just because you don't have a top 10 quarterback doesn't mean you're not allowed to have a top 10 receiver. That's BS. That's looking at everything from a player's perspective, which is like...
No, I'm saying... If you get 2 first-rounders for the guy and you're not going to contend this year,
but
maybe
they won 14 games 2 years ago, Jacob, and they were over 500 last year. Why would they trade their best player?
Because your expectations are low.
With Sam Darnold.
You hit your ceiling. You think Kyler Murray's going to have a 14-win season?
I know this concept that like every time. Like you don't win the Super Bowl, you just trade your best player.
Oh, but they're not
like
close.
Justin Jefferson's their best player. And
you get a lot back from him.
They didn't get last in their division last year, which was the best division in football. They finished ahead of the Lions, who everyone's telling me is going to win the division this year. Why would maybe if they think they get enough back for him to make it worth it, but they don't need to trade him because they're doing Justin Jefferson a favor. He's done just fine there. He has 8,000 yards in 6 seasons.
Kyler, save this guy.
This segment of the Press Box is brought to you by Wichita Clear Bra, the ultimate car care and protection. Online at wichitaclearbra.com.
The Press Box on KGSO.
40 to the 30. The Burgers are on.
High school football is almost here. And your one-stop source for all your high school football is your High School Football Guide from the Mid-America Sports Network. Stay tuned in and hear where you can pick up your copy. Catch each team's season schedule, read about each team and coach, and follow your favorite team all season long. It's the Mid-America Sports Network Football Guide, and it's coming to a location near you.
Hi, this is Blake Davis with Davis Liquor Outlet. And this is Brian Davis with a special on Busch Light 30 packs, only $26.99.
Or grab good old Jim Beam White 1.75 liters, just $30.99.
Davis Liquor Outlet.
Each store independently owned and operated.
Wichita owned, Wichita proud.
Unlock the savings at Boost Mobile and save up to $600 a year. I've been scouting these big carriers for a minute now, and I've seen them pull the same play 1,000 times. They promise you the world, then hit you with a price hike right when the game gets tight. But Boost Mobile, their $25 a month unlimited wireless plan is the most consistent player on the floor. No contracts, no price hikes. Unlock the savings today at boostmobile.com/unlock. Based on average annual single line payment of AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile customers compared to 12 months of the Boost Mobile unlimited wireless plan as of January 2026. For full offer details, visit boostmobile.com.
Have you been to Taco Tico lately? It's time to go check them out. Taco Tico always has great daily specials. And now when you visit any Taco Tico location, you can pick 2 for just $5. Choose from a beef Sancho, combo burrito, or a taco burger. Pick any 2 for just $5 at any Taco Tico location. Make your next lunch or dinner plans at Taco Tico. Visit one of their 7 area locations, including 13th and Tyler and 35th and Rock Road in Wichita. Taco Tico. It's all about the taste.
Hi, this is Brian Davis with Davis Liquor Outlet.
And Blake Davis here with a deal on Keystone Light 30 packs, just $24.99.
And Crown Royal 1.75 liters, only $46.99. And this includes all the flavors.
Davis Liquor Outlet.
Each store independently owned and operated.
Wichita owned, Wichita proud.
John Stugatz, afternoons on Wichita's sports station, KGSO.
No means, but when you're down.
show is terrible, something wonderful happens. What? It is.
Wonderful, whether you like it or not. Look, wonderful. That's what they say Taco Tico is when you have them for dinner.
Taco Tico, it's all about the taste.
Still got the 2 for $5 special going strong at Taco Tico, but it's only for the next 3 days. So take advantage of the 2 for $5 with the taco burger, beef sancho, and combo burrito. 13th and Tyler, 35th and Rock Road, Arc City, Newton, El Dorado, Derby, Augusta, where it's all about the
taste.
Jay-Z, Sasha B wrapping things up here in the Renewal by Anderson KGSO studios. Look, last segment of the show. Call it before we're wrapped up here in 5 minutes. 522-1410. The Odd Couple, Fox Sports Wichita coming up on the horizon. Mixed bag of stories here. Everything from WNBA to Hall of Fame jokes to maybe a local story up in Washburn country. Sasha, go ahead and start with that. Head coach Brett Ballard. I'm seeing he's been the coach since 2017. Longtime coach. Had a 30-4 record in the Division II back in the 2025 season. So well accomplished. But there was a crash last week on the Kansas Turnpike on I-147 or I-470, excuse me. And Ballard, 46, driving a 2024 Ford F-150 pickup, hit into a bridge pillar off of the highway. But it looks like he is okay, and he is in relatively good condition considering that really devastating news there up in Washburn. There was a statement released. I am reaching out today to share the uplifting message below from the Ballard family. The Ballard family would like to extend our gratitude to the first responders and medical staff at Stormont Vale for caring for Brett. We sincerely appreciate the outpouring of love and support from friends and family and the community. Your prayers are felt and are making a difference. So wanted to read that news. Maybe next time Jason Canader is up on the show. He, of course, calls in from the Topeka area from WIBW. We'll ask him further about the details and about some Washburn basketball. But Sasha, I wanted to ask you here, look, these Hall of Fame speeches, man, they're fun. I love seeing the Hall of Fame knocks. Those videos are always emotional, how, different spins on them. But Adam Vinatieri, I think, probably had the biggest headlines from the Hall of Fame speeches themselves. You had Drew Brees, who was pretty serious, right? A little hoot at the very end of his speech. He was pumped up, man. He looked like he could lead a locker room. He's had some great speeches in his day, but Adam Vinatieri made some jokes. He went at Bill Belichick. He's like, "Where's Bill?" But I guess he's at his girlfriend's cheerleading competition. He had one for Pat McAfee there in attendance. It's like, hey man, McAfee, you sure we're holding my footballs a lot more than my significant
He did
other.
not say footballs.
I know.
He said balls. Yeah. And it was funny, right? Like, listen, I didn't watch the speeches, right? I didn't sit down and get into these. And the only ones I saw clips from and heard anyone talking about was Vinatieri's. Moral of the story, crack a few jokes. And it's fun that he went after Pat McAfee. I heard he went after his holder. I didn't realize it was McAfee until I went and looked it up later. And it's like, McAfee's always going after people. He's the funny guy, right? He's the crass humor on network television. So for Vinatieri to turn it around on him was kind of fun. I liked that. The Belichick one, I think people in the audience were cringing a little bit, like you're going after the GOAT. But it was still funny, right? He said something about him judging a cheerleading competition and lots going on in North Carolina. I think people were a little taken aback, though, because it was almost like poking fun at his post-Patriots career in North Carolina.
I mean, people have the right to make their comments.
And there's also the fact that, this was the induction ceremony that Bill was supposed to go in at, and he's not. And now Vinatieri's up on stage talking about how Bill's not there. Of course Bill's not there. He would have been there if he was getting inducted, but now he's worried about his North Carolina football season. So it's interesting for sure.
Devin, this is a very interesting comment here. If you could delete one moment from Kansas sports history forever, what are you erasing? And why is Jay-Z somehow responsible for it? Devin, I don't know why that's the part 2 of the question. I just control time. I control reality. That is. But
I'd probably delete the moment where Ron Baker got called for a tie-up against Louisville. So
I would delete the moment where my team was up 20 at halftime in a national championship game.
And that is Kansas sports history, too, because it was against KU.
You know, when my Carolina Tar Heels were choking that game away, and I'm like, you guys are representing the university?
These dudes do not deserve to wear this uniform.
Oh, it had to come out at some point. Added some new buttons there in the hot buttons wall. All right, last minute of the show. You're on the show. What's up?
I know you're short of time, so I'm going to be quick and then hang up. But as far as Adam Vinatieri goes, I think it was disgraceful. Ooh. I think that going into the Hall of Fame is an honor, and it's not a Dean Martin roast program from the 1980s. I thought it was ridiculous, and that's all I have to say.
Thanks for the call. Different perspectives for sure.
Pick your spots.
And I didn't. To be honest, I didn't watch the whole speech in context, so I may have felt differently had I. But there is something to be said for that, right? Like it's not about being a stand-up comedian.
To each their own. We love opinions. That's the show.
The wait is officially over. The NFL is back on Sports USA. Every hit matters, and every play sets the tone.
He's going to throw. He's got a man all alone at the 20. Caught. 10, 5. Touchdown, Denver. Cortland